Phone Master Dre, Andre Thibodeau on the job, and Carlo Solórzano
Solórzano.
is
Well
with
done.
us.
I kind of made it Italian at the end. Sorry, that's not what was supposed to happen. Solórzano.
Solórzano, yeah. Well done.
Well, it was great to see you again.
Yeah, it's great to see you all as well.
Yeah. We're going to talk. When we started the program this morning, so we're going to touch on all kinds of different areas of trucking and coming at it from a lot of different angles. You're the senior director of sales and business development at Driver IQ, part of CISIV, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Or CISIV.
CISIV, correct. Yeah. Yes, sir.
You say CISIV, I say CISIV. You say potato, I say potato.
Right.
And the idea of, and I was talking to somebody about how long I've been around, and I was back in the days of the paper log, so the comic books as they were called at the time, and licenses. It wouldn't be uncommon for a driver to have maybe 3, even 5 different licenses from different states, because one state had no clue as to what the other one is doing.
Absolutely.
They barely do now, but at least they're trying to get together under that CDL umbrella. So the CDL comes out, but it didn't really solve a lot of problems. And then we have the PSP, the pre-employment screening program, and that tightened down some things as well. Is that a good place to kind of pick up the conversation?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think you're right. I think historically there have been big gaps in the background screening piece, right? So again, a driver might have multiple CDLs in various states, or might have a hold of CDL in one area, run into some trouble, relinquish that, and get a CDL somewhere else in hopes that that wouldn't be picked up when they're seeking their next employment. And so the CIDLIS, Commercial Driver's License Information System, that sort of aggregated that, and so it allowed carriers to be able to access the current plus previous 3 licenses all with one little click, and so making sure that it's kind of like a sort of an honesty test, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's taken a long time for all 50 states to get on board, and we've seen delays. Well, this state can't do it, and if one state can't do it, then nothing works.
Yeah. So for at least the last handful of years, everybody's been a part of AMBA, and so the biggest part is just making sure that they're continuing to stay updated in the information that they send to AMBA, who runs the CIDLIS.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you told me what VOE, verification of employment.
Yes, sir.
VOE. Well, I'll tell you what, there are more acronyms than there are trucks.
I appreciate that you ask, though, and don't pretend like you know.
Yeah.
I mean, there's that.
Yeah, for people who are new to screening, there's tons of acronyms and lots of things to learn, and VOE is one of them. But VOE is a critical one because it's verification of employment is a spot where there's a huge bottleneck in the hiring process. So directors of recruiting are regularly struggling, and their teams are regularly struggling to get that, at least 3 years of verification so that they can move a guy forward through the process.
I hate to use this word, but whose fault is that? Is that a fair question? In other words, if a guy comes in, he has a pretty bad record, and he shouldn't really be driving the truck anyway, but he's going to keep trying to get in there. There are ways for him to kind of squeeze through the cracks, aren't there?
Yeah, and when you say fault, I think there's plenty of blame to go around, and it's not necessarily as much blame as it is just inefficiencies, and it's real nuanced. So you've got regulations that require carriers to get so much of their verifications done, but also there's rules around how long that the previous employer has to provide that verification, and so there's some gamesmanship that goes on, and carriers are only required to make a good 3 good faith attempts, et cetera, and so there's a lot of moving pieces, and so from our perspective, we database a lot of those VOEs, over 5 million, and those are accessible to our clients instantly at the click of a button for a small fee. And that takes sort of the waiting out of it. It takes the guessing out of it, and allows them to move through that piece of the verification process so much easier and quicker.
We all have a history, and we all want our history to be accurate. In fact, the drivers are encouraged to at least once a year or after an incident, or wait about, I think, 3 months now to or 6 months. Go ahead and check your PSP, your pre-employment screening data, to make sure that everything in there is accurate and correct. I'm not going to put you on the spot with any kind of numbers, but you see inaccuracies there and omissions there a lot. And again, it's whose fault is that? Well, not anybody's, but again, it's the process.
It's such a fragmented process, and you're right there. You do come across. I think it's consistently gotten better throughout the years, but from one source to the next, the data just doesn't always line up. And so, having somebody in your corner who can help you reconcile that is key, and that's what we try to do.
You know, it's kind of it's interesting. I'm laughing in my head thinking about what's really interesting about this and why driver IQ should be so necessary for everyone listening. You kind of get to be the bad guy. That sounds strange, but I mean it as a compliment. For the trucking company, they can be like, it's just data, it's facts. We found it from a trusted partner, which is driver IQ. When I call you bad guy, it's not because you went to OSU and I went to OU, by the way. But
it's not because of the black that I'm wearing today either.
Boomer sooner. No, but really,
folks.
that is sort of when talking with companies of looking at onboarding. That's something they can kind of lean on. It's like it's one more thing that you're taking to let the company, let the driver continue to do what they do. It's a piece that y'all can handle that takes a lot of that out of their hands, right?
Yeah, precisely. I think the biggest piece about what we do, and we take it really seriously, is to make sure that the information we pass on to our partners is accurate and actionable, right? And so the last thing we want to do is empower a carrier to put somebody on the road who's not worthy or fit to be on the road. And so we go to great lengths to do so. And the people who partner with us usually can take great comfort in the fact that when we give them that information, they can act on it, whether that's to hire somebody or to not hire somebody, which, I think that's the sort of the nuts and bolts of what we do, right? We empower them with good information.
Well, you have so much more technology that the trucking company doesn't have, and it puts,
technology, connections, and expertise in obtaining and reviewing the information that we get, right? Because there's so many background histories are so heavily regulated, so there's a lot of expertise that goes way even above my head that smarter people than I handle to make sure that we're passing along information that the carriers need, but also information that the carriers are allowed to have because they're, in keeping with the regulations. Some offenses can only be known about for certain amounts of time, right? So a carrier can't consider a certain offense beyond 7 years. Some certain offenses they're able to consider for a lifetime, and so we ferret all that out on our end and don't provide information to carriers that they can't use in consideration with hiring a driver.
It's verified. It's not a Google search. That is definitely outdated.
That's exactly right.
There is an organization, and I know what this one means, the PBSA, Professional Background Screening Association. I did not know that existed, but you're part of that.
Yeah, and we think that's one of the things that set us apart at Driver IQ. When you get hired, you go through your HR orientation, fill out that paperwork, and the very next thing you do is you're handed a huge binder, 3 rings, about 5 inches thick, and you get 2 weeks to study to take an exam and pass with an 80%. It is our sort of our governing body, right? And every single person that you'd speak to at Driver IQ, whether it's the first person who answers the phone at customer service, all the way up through the highest points of our leadership, we've all done it, and we all recertify every 2 years. We think it takes us to another level of knowledge, of professionalism, and that's who we want to be.
You know what I'm thinking of? I'm thinking of a trucking company who has drivers on the road. Everybody in the home office has a CDL and knows how to drive.
That's exactly it. Yeah. That's exactly it. Yeah.
Driver IQ, DriverIQ.com.
You got it.
Carlo, great to see you.
It was a pleasure to talk to you all even the sooner.
Boomer sooner.
Go Pogues.